Hey everybody, it's Gary Vaynerchuk. Another episode of Pod Sessions. Awesome scene I just walked into. There's like 30 people in my office. It was buzzing exactly how I love it. I sat down and shit got quiet. So I'm freaking out. I'm excited to get the noise a little bit louder. Three phenomenal guests again. I will let them introduce themselves in a second. And actually, I'm just going to go right into it. I was going to make a comment about my shitty fantasy baseball team, but nobody needs to hear my troubles. And so let's move on. Let's go ladies first. Why don't we give the audience that's listening a little bit of an origin story? So who you are, what you're about. Actually, let's start with who you are and what you're up to, and then I'll take it from there.
Awesome. Yeah. Anastasia, and I've been surfing my whole life. I've been a professional surfer for the last 20-something years. I traveled around the world. I don't compete actively anymore, but...
What years did you compete? How old from how old?
5 years old to, up until last year.
That's amazing.
I'm 31. So, yeah, it's been a great ride, and throughout this whole time, I've always been producing my own videos, doing photos for sponsors and brands, even when I was a young kid, and, it really started popping off with me with social media and being able to have my own platform. And so now I get to do what I've always loved doing, is surf videos, fun photos, traveling, and really social media has been great for me. So. And
where do you live now?
I live actually in Florida now.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
And you grew up where?
I'm from Hawaii and California. So I've definitely...
Real surf land.
Yeah, I've definitely been in everywhere tropical, warm, beach towns.
Did you want to get out of the West Coast, or was Florida for business reasons or any other reason?
Personal. My boyfriend brought me there, but yeah. I'm always on the road, so it's kind of just it's a nice home base to come home to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My guy.
Rob Pannell, played professional lacrosse, going into my 6th year. From New York, grew up here originally. I played for New York Lizards and Team USA. So heading into the World Games are the big thing. Looking forward to this summer.
That's every 4 years, right?
Every 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, you excited?
Can't wait, yeah.
You've done that once before, or is this your first
2014, we lost to Canada, so...
Yep. You're pissed.
Yeah, I'm pissed. A little bit of chip on our shoulder. But yeah, in Israel in July. We'll be there.
And how you feeling about this run?
Feeling good. Feeling confident.
Do we feel confident?
New team, new coach.
Is Canada going to be great again?
They'll be great, yeah. They're always talented and always got some
who's
great players.
emerged in the last 4 years, in your opinion, on the world stage? Anybody else you got your eye on of that's going to be real competition?
I think Team Israel, they're hosting, but I think they can maybe challenge the Iroquois for that bronze medal. Australia's always there, but Israel in the past hasn't been that great, and I think...
But for most experts, it's going to be us, you guys, and Canada.
Yeah, I think only one other time it hasn't been U.S. or Canada in the finals, so it's...
So you're focused?
Just focused on Canada.
And what kind of brings you here? Obviously, Tyler is a huge lacrosse fan,
yeah.
or Paul, or you've hacked your way, but from a business standpoint and things of that nature, where's your mindset at?
I think the unique thing about the lacrosse world is that we're professional athletes, but we're not paid like other sports.
Right.
So we got to find other ways to make a living, and I think the social landscape has allowed us to, guys like myself, guys like Paul, to do it full time. So it's challenging, but you got to find ways to get creative, and most guys in the professional league are going into another job. I'm lucky that I've building a brand that I'm able to do it full time. So getting creative, whether it's developing my own platform for instruction online for kids to watch videos, doing workout videos on social media that kids want to follow along, just kind of building my brand over the years, and kind of feel myself right now more focused on it, more than ever. So
good for you, man. Obs?
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Aubrey Marcus. I'm the founder, CEO of a company called On It, which is one of the leaders in human performance. We call it total human optimization. And I put all that knowledge from working with the best people in the world, a lifetime of experience in clinical research, and put that into a new book called Own the Day, Own Your Life, which is compressing all of these practices for total human optimization into one single day.
It's a big fat book, bro.
It's a big fat book.
Jesus.
It's heavy.
Yeah, man. I feel like you yapped a little bit too much in this. This is real.
Well, there's a lot to the game, my friend. A lot to the game.
Respect. Nice
Every
cover.
chapter covers a different section of the day, from waking up to having sex to going to sleep to what you should eat, breakfast, lunch, dinner, the whole thing. So having a glass of wine tries to cover like a real life day rather than just a health book that's gonna have everybody pretend.
And when
to be
does
a
this
saint.
hit? Tomorrow?
April 17th.
17th, so a week from this recording. And are you nervous? Are you excited?
Man, I paid the blood price for this book, so I'm not nervous. You know, I did everything I could. So at that point, when you do your best, you lay it all on the line. Like, you can't be tied to the expectations of what it does. 'Cause there was not a single point where I had a chance to rewrite or a chance to put my best effort in, and I didn't do it. So I laid it on the line. So whatever happens, happens.
Congrats, brother. It's
brother.
such a... They're like children, these books, you know, like they definitely are special. I'm excited it's here. I'm excited for people to get to know you more in this session. So let's go back around the room, and this is my favorite part of the pod sessions. I want to know what you're currently obsessed with. And when I say that, I'd prefer that it not be in like what your life is about or what you care about. Like I don't want Aubrey's answer to be, I'm obsessed with maximizing your one life. Like I want it to be something ridiculously small, like this new t-shirt that you just got that like somebody gave you that's so fucking soft you don't know how you ever lived without it, or like a new Netflix show, or like some new food or restaurant that opened by you. Something, so, you know, I think it's really interesting the way we live our lives, like how some little thing becomes a new current obsession. So let's go back around. What is your current obsession?
I have a couple.
Go ahead. You're loud.
My current obsession right now, and I don't know where or why I got so into this, is basically whenever I'm traveling, I just love watching on Instagram stories from cities, different cities. Even if I'm not even traveling, if I'm home, like I'll be like, oh, I want to know what's going on at this hot spot around the world, and like I like watching real people on the internet, not necessarily like influencers or celebrities, like real time people.
And will it be as macro as like Coachella? Or will
no,
it be like,
no.
Will
like,
it be something like, I'm just curious what the fuck's happening in Des Moines, Iowa right now?
like no, like I'd say like
somewhere in between.
Yeah, like like you know, like Paris or like, you know, London or just
Got it, like a major
It doesn't need to be like a cultural event like Coachella, like snooze. Like I've seen enough hipster outfits, you know. It's like, but
You've
like
seen enough flowers in here.
Yeah, like
for a lifetime.
Yeah, I've been to Coachella 10 times. I'm like, I'm Coachella'd out. But just like random cities and other things. And then my also other obsession recently, which actually happened yesterday, I was telling my friends that I just swooped some like new, you know, redone or brought back like LA Gear stuff. I was like,
LA Gear.
Yeah, and I was like, this is so tight. Like,
I love that. The recall.
Yeah. Like,
so what did you get? Sneakers?
I know I got some like just crop top shirts, some like
you can
jacket.
Still get those LA Gear lights.
Yeah, I want to get those next.
Sick.
eBay.
Maybe someone here
the
knows
original stuff, not the remade.
Yeah.
Love that. LA Gear. Perfect answer. My man?
Short term, I'd say this weekend was the Masters.
Okay,
golf's
that's
my
cool.
favorite sport, so
you were just like enthralled.
Dialed in like the whole weekend.
Dialed in Thursday or dialed in Saturday, Sunday?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
Like you just were not productive. Like Tyler wasn't super productive. like my empire was struggling this
I don't want to throw
weekend.
myself under the bus, but yeah, I was you know, live stream on my phone
with boys text. Like, did you bet? Did you bet on someone?
I didn't bet on the Masters.
So do you have a core guy or two or gal golf friend?
Yeah, so my buddy and I played on Saturday, played 18 holes, then watched before training camp started, and then Sunday.
So you guys are just texting each other and be like, holy shit, look what Jordan just did this hole. Or
absolutely. A few guys I have like that, but
so the Masters.
Golf, so
I love that's super awesome. That's been really interesting for me to watch. It's clearly like become more and more. The Tiger effect is going to be so. No matter how much ESPN hypes it, no matter when the true 30 for 30 or movie doc comes out about the Tiger effect on pop culture, but like literally, you know, just being 42, being in that zone where Tiger kind of like came up, but also being in the wine business as a kid and mainly hanging out with high net worth individuals that were in their 40s to 80s, like just watching in one generation the interest in golf become so much younger. And now you've got this whole new kind of group of guys who like go to Baker, you know, and it's kind of like just drink Natty Light and use social and like do ridiculous guy things has created a wave. But it's really interesting how cultural the Masters has become for people 20 to 40 instead of 40 to 80 as it was when I was growing up as a kid.
Absolutely.
And did you like golf as a kid?
Yeah, my dad had a club in my hand when I was 3 years old, so
Got it.
I love it.
There's a lot of young sports going on around here.
Yeah.
Club in hand at 3, on a surfboard professionally at 5.
Yeah.
It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I would say one thing that's been interesting is I did a lot of research on tobacco for the book and as a performance enhancer. And I started getting into Swedish snus, which is one of the cleanest forms of like a chewing tobacco.
Okay.
And that to me has been...
So you're going to get mouth cancer. I'm just asking.
Well, it depends on
Probably.
obviously frequency. There's some risk involved, but Royal London College of Physicians says it's like 10 to 1,000 times safer than smoking cigarettes or something like that. And nicotine itself isn't really the issue. A lot of the associated things with tobacco, and the Swedish snus is one of the cleaner versions. I'm not saying there's no risk, but I'm saying as
How
far
often
as...
are you dipping?
I would say
is
like
it dipping?
Yeah, well, you put a little pouch in your mouth.
So
I'm
how
saying
often are you
like
dipping?
I'm saying like maybe 4 times a week, but it's
Okay.
probably my favorite drug.
Because you feel amazing as
You
it's
feel
happening?
amazing as it's happening, right?
How quickly
like
is it-
I've experienced, if people know me and follow me, I've experienced a lot of the
Sure.
psychedelic drugs, a
Yes.
lot of the things. If I had to probably say, all right, no more drugs, no more caffeine, no more alcohol, no more anything.
Is sugar in there?
No sugar?
No, but is sugar...
is sugar a drug?
Like, I just
Yeah,
love when
fuck
people
sugar.
are
You
like...
can get rid of that.
I remember there was something I said about, like... So I'm the reverse. I've never ever done any drug. I've never tried any tobacco product in my life outside of literally alcohol.
I could fucking blow your mind right now, Gary. I got a Swedish snus right
No,
in my
you
bag.
know what's funny? I think I need to go the other way, bro. I have so much natural adrenaline and high. Like it's so amazing to me how I never gravitated towards that. And I think my mom was also super brainwashed by Nancy Reagan and like no more drugs or say no or whatever the fuck that was in the 80s. But actually the true answer is, and you'll find this interesting for everybody listening, my mom grew up in Soviet Russia where one, the Soviet Union was so miserable that most people died at 60. 2, there was no health, the amount of vodka consumed in that country is just so overwhelming. So my mom basically saw every male figure she knew ever outside of like one grandpa like drink themselves into oblivions as like a norm. Like it's really funny when I got to college, in high school there was drinking culture, but college like a lot of my buddies like I'll just never forget like my wedding rehearsal night. My uncles dismantled my friends. Like it was just the best scene I'd ever seen. All my buddies who thought they could drink, like my uncles drank a liter of Grey Goose to the face every single normal holiday. Like it was like literally a half a bottle of vodka was the equivalent to normal Americans having a glass of champagne like as an aperitif. Like, so I think my mom was super affected and like kind of pushed me in the other direction. Mm-hmm. But it's really, really, really interesting to me because I do think on the flip side, I'm always fascinated by what the establishment has made a negative versus a positive. The way I think about school, the way I think about a lot of things. I actually subconsciously understand that truth around most drugs and things of that nature. So for example, I'm very fascinated. I'm unbelievably undereducated when I make this statement because I don't need to get destroyed on in the comment section and have to spend an hour contexting it. I say this with full transparency. I'm super undereducated on everything about that world, but I am fascinated intuitively around steroids, for example. Like it always runs through my mind that what's the real punchline there? If
next time we hoop, you're dunking a basketball, we'll know. We'll know what's
then
up.
you'll know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So that has become huge. And what's the subculture around? What's it called again? One more time.
Snus, SNUS.
And so what's the underbelly?
It's
of
kind
snus?
of like it's biohacker. It's people trying to find the cleanest way to deliver the nicotine, which
Yes.
is it's a really interesting feeling when you push the boundary because it starts off kind of excitable, like you get a little energy, like a stimulant, and then everything gets really heavy and quiet,
Yes.
almost like you're spearfishing at the bottom of the water when everything gets really still. I mean, you've probably done that before. It's like this crazy feeling that'll settle over your body, and that's the part that's really enjoyable because for me, I'm a little bit like you. My mind's always running, and this actually takes you beyond that point and kind of drops you in.
Let me ask a question, all three of you. How much do you like being in control?
A lot.
So how do you think about drinking, drugs, like to me, the thing that I, as you were talking, the thought of going mundane or like being in the bottom of spearfishing, one of the things that's been interesting to me is I've not been drunk a lot in my life, and I grew up in the alcohol business. I grew up in America. Like I think about the reason why. No question for me, the reason I don't like, asking for things. A lot of my content lately has been about this, I've realized, and it just summed up as you were talking. My greatest angst, the thing I hate the most, is not being in control. The reason the reason I love running my own shit is I do not want to be at the mercy of anything but myself. And one of the reasons I've not liked being drunk or getting into any zone is I don't like not being in control. I could see one arguing that is control. I'm fascinated by that. But you said you love being in control.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love having a couple drinks, but in moderation. And, I social, have a drink or two, but like... Do
you agree with me that if you're off, your rocker and or mellowed out, do you feel less in control?
Yeah, 100%.
But when you're surfing, though, I mean, in that state, it is a state of being out of control. I mean, it's a state of surrender naturally, right? Like you get out of your head completely.
I feel like you were in control.
You are in control, but you are dealing with an uncontrollable element.
Understood.
Yeah, so you can't...
But that's life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm in control.
I know,
but Seth might punch me in the fucking face right now.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be prepared at all times. Like, dude with a pink hat may stab me in my neck with a knife. I'm always aware of what's happening here. How do you feel
I'm
about
the same way. I think, everything affects people differently. So, you talk about experimenting with different things. I have, and you feel out of control, and you're like, I don't want to do that again. It's probably the reason why I don't do certain things as much as other people do it. I don't drink a ton. If I'm drinking, I'm going out and like drinking. I'm not just like having.
You're binary.
I'm not having.
You're not going to be casual.
I'm not
you're not just having one.
I'm not having a few casual.
You're like going for it.
And that's like very rare.
Go big, go home.
These days.
Your homie needs to keep an eye on you.
Yeah. If you watch me play lacrosse, I mean, no, it's not that bad. People will tell you that they think I'm always in control. Like they've never seen me crazy out of control when I go out, but I'm not. I think I'm just always, I was a captain in college, always overlooking the team when we were out, at the fraternity, making sure. So I always had to make sure everything was going to be okay. If you watch me play lacrosse, I kind of operate at like 80% speed. I'm never, full go.
I understand.
I want to make sure.
Because of injury, even?
No,
or
I think it's just
overplaying?
Like I don't want to get myself into a position that I can't get out of. Yeah. So I want to be in control. So
do you when you go there with experimenting things, are you conscious before you go there to put yourself in a position where you're controlled at home or amongst people?
100%.
Yeah.
So like I think being unconsciously out of control is a horrible idea, whether you're partying or whatever.
Right.
If you're unconsciously out of control, that's terrible. But there is so much fucking magic in super conscious surrender.
I understand.
So like if you're doing a psychedelic or if you're just completely allowing something to happen, like there's real magic on the bleeding edge of that.
Do you feel the magic of that plays out back in the quote-unquote real world because you have the context of the two?
Yeah, absolutely. And then when that uncontrollable element happens, you've practiced and you've trained the art of completely letting go and not resisting the irresistible force, And so it helps you get over these emotional issues that you would normally obsess over and helps you move beyond and see the assistance that's coming on the backside of the resistance.
What's happening in that subculture? Like obviously, our friend Tim Ferriss and others, like it would be obvious to me just living in culture that there's huge momentum in the kind of like that 20 to 30-year-old alpha male acceptance of psychedelics and experimental that is far more accepted right now, in my opinion. In what are you seeing in the subculture? Like what are like
'cause
now that we're 2 or 3 years, it feels like it's 2-3 years, 4 years into this. What are we seeing?
A lot of high performers, myself included, are deeply unhappy on certain levels with ourself in some particular way. We're super driven, and we catalyze a lot of that energy from early trauma and early expectations we couldn't live up to, and we catalyze that into outward exertion of effort as an entrepreneur, as a thought leader. I'm 37. So,
how old are you?
But
28.
But the deep unhappiness that we feel, these are tools to allow us to get down to the roots of that and start pulling the weeds and healing the cracks in the foundation. And I think that's what's driving people to it.
You feel like when you're in that state, you're able to have that conversation with yourself?
Fuck yeah. Like see little things that were blind to me, patterns that developed from my parents, things that I've been driven by pleasing this certain person or living up to this expectation, and unravel some of that.
Have you gone and talked with people? Have you gone that route as well?
Yeah, totally.
And has that been a positive as well, or is this work better for you?
The thing is, you can't talk about what you can't see. So you can talk like, oh yeah, I think things were pretty good, but you're blind. You're blind until you become aware of what it is, and then you can start talking, and then allow people, experts, psychiatrists, other people, to help you clean up, what you became aware of.
Let me use this as a building block to change the conversation, but actually build right on top of that. As 3 performers, this is super interesting to me, what you just said. I am fascinated by the last 20 years of parenting. So I think it is in America, and I've seen in parts of Asia, and I just don't have enough context outside, but in America, over the last 20 years, I feel like the parenting has, and this is obviously a very blanket statement, but I'm enough that I'm starting the foundations of the book I've been yelling about for years called Perfectly Parented. I'm super fascinated by not the coddling, but it's really one thing. Like parents, when there's abundance, parents will always do this. During good times, even look at parents parenting during the roaring 20s. Like, when things are good, you start worrying about dumb shit. Like when you have nothing, you worry about food and shelter. You do not worry about how long you waited for your Uber and why did it go around the block again? It's just life. You worry about, what my parents, when they first came to America, when we lived in a studio apartment the size of this, they worried about certain shit. They worry about different shit now. It's just normal. So after 3 generations of abundance in America, and obviously this is a net America, there's obviously Mississippi has not been crushing it for the last 3 generations, or most of it, unfortunately, which is a whole nother obsession of mine, Mississippi, but I haven't really talked about it yet. I'm very fascinated by parents trying to protect kids from losing, like in a big way. Like, especially now that I'm a parent, just watching parents talk about things like, we have to invite everybody to the birthday party. Just like stuff that is so ridiculous to me. As 3 competitors, and it sounds like you started athletics super early, and I'm projecting, but I think you did as well, right? Do you feel like that was a great thing for you? Did your parents try to actually manipulate some not losing? Did you see it? What is your 3 opinions on this notion, very simply, that losing a lot young is actually the great advantage to life, not a disadvantage, that I think parents have unbelievably net tried to protect kids from losing? We've changed so much of our athletics in the U.S. We don't have like keeping score until like fucking 5th grade. I mean, it's real intense. It's gotten it's a very interesting conversation. And to me, you start talking about unwinding things. Look, kids have to unwind alcoholism and abuse and a lot of hardcore stuff that you can't predict or things of that nature. Watching the country, and I'm talking about the liberal and the conservative. I love when I bring this up. A lot of the homies from Alabama are like, yeah, you fucking New York and LA homies, Gary, go get them. I'm like, bro, I'm weird. When somebody hits me up on Twitter and says, yeah, you're so right, the New York, LA liberal shit, get them, Gary, I love you. I look at their account, I'm like, okay, this town in Arkansas, I Google and look up the rules of their soccer league and then reply to them, be like, yo, dude, your league has fucking 8th place trophies too. So this is a net thing. What is your 2 cents, 3 cents on this whole conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I 1000% agree. I mean, the way I was brought up, it was either you're a winner or you're a loser. And And it worked. I mean, like for me too, like I remember I used to cry. I was so emotional about getting second place because it was either, you know, you win or you lose. And, you know.
And how did your parents deal with the crying?
They
didn't want you to cry.
They were like, well, you didn't win.
Right, cry.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, you know, do better next time.
I cried basically minimally once a week for the first 13 years of my life.
Yeah.
This is not a joke. I would cry all the time.
Yeah.
I just cried every time I lost.
Yeah.
Like, until I was 9, I cried every time I lost. Like, dead tears, like death tears.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where, like, nobody really wanted to play with me.
You're like,
Being serious. And I could tell when people were letting me win, and that would make me cry, too. So I was just crying.
Yeah, no, and for me, too, I thought it was very interesting when I was a young kid because I was, like, obsessed with getting first in every event. And when I would go over to my friends' houses that had participation trophies and trophies in their room, and I was always like, what? Like, what place did you get?
And did they think you were wrong? Like, did they think you were too much? Seriously.
Yeah. Growing up, like, I mean, that's the thing.
Did you have to learn how to coddle that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean,
because I definitely did.
I was doing like the thing when I was like 12, 13, I was doing shoots for like Teen Magazine, and I was like coming up and, you know, getting attention and stuff. And that was also weird too. Like I wasn't bullied, but people were definitely like, oh,
you
like,
think you're special.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
Well, and also too, when I was growing up, surfing wasn't cool for girls. So that's a whole other thing. But it was like, oh, like, you know, you're like a dude, you're like a tomboy,
Sure.
like you're not cute, like, oh, you know, there's a lot of that stuff. But yeah.
Did you care, or were you so deep into surfing that you didn't give a fuck? Did you cry?
No, that never made me cry. Losing made me cry.
Love it.
Yeah.
How about for you?
I think it starts with parenting. I mean, I almost didn't play college lacrosse because I wasn't recruited. Like, I didn't have many options to go to school. At one point, I had no options. You know, my 5th year of high school, trying to go somewhere. But I think it was because of how
Why'd you have a 5th year of high school?
I wasn't recruited, so I took a post-grad year at a prep school.
So you were that hardcore.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought you were going to go.
I think it was
so you were
my
that
dad.
Religious of like, fuck this, I'm playing lacrosse.
Yeah. And I think it stems from my dad when I was younger. It was all about being, you know, the best you can be and being the best and winning. And, you know, I was good when I was younger.
What made you make, that's such an intense gear.
Yeah.
Like I can't even think of anybody I know that took a fucking 5th year of high school to me, why didn't you accept that the market said you weren't good enough, like, because it was still one more option and you needed to, like, scratch that itch? I'm curious of the psychology of, like, nobody recruit, like, it feels, like, I mean this when I say this, I really don't think I know for anybody's, like, I'd love for anybody to shake their head, like, I don't even know anybody who ever took a 5th year of high school to get into a sport. Like, that's an intense jump.
Yeah. It was... I had that. I love lacrosse. I had that dream of playing Division I lacrosse at the highest level possible, playing on Memorial Day in the national championship. And when that wasn't happening, I was like, okay, what do I need to do differently to be better? And I kept, you know, working, and put so much time and effort into it.
When did it set in that wasn't happening? Late junior year?
I'd say my senior year. I want to say I was recruited to like Division III, Division II.
Understood.
You know, not the.
But we're not talking Hopkins and Syracuse and Princeton. Like,
I'd say my junior to senior year, and I was committed to a Division I school that was, you know, outside the top 50, and it was like, okay, this is my last push to make this happen. I had a great. So you had a hedge
year. late junior going to senior.
I had a hedge.
You had a hedge.
Yeah.
And you're like, but I'm gonna fucking dismantle it.
Yep.
And somebody's gonna see that and swoop in.
Yep. And then I did that. I said, I'm not coming. And I took a 5th year at the prep school.
So you did that senior year, and that didn't happen, right? A tier top 10 school didn't come and recruit.
I actually made this decision after my senior year. So I made it in the summer after senior year. I said, I'm not coming. And I'm
to this school.
Yeah.
And you said, I'm going to go to this prep school.
I'm going to the prep school.
And that's allowed?
Yeah, not really.
You're like,
no.
Yeah,
I signed a contract. You know, I was supposed to be there, so technically, I could only look at non-scholarship schools.
Right. That part. I mean, the prep school. Like, you could go. Like, so what ended up happening? You go to the prep school, and what happens?
I was talking to a few schools. They all told me they didn't have room for me. Couldn't get me in. And at one point in October, the reason I was there, play Division I lacrosse, I wasn't talking to anyone. And then out of nowhere, Cornell came, and
you had to be redshirted for a year, or like
no, it was there the next year. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
It was crazy. I remember calling my mom crying.
Sure.
When these 2 other schools told me they couldn't take me. And I was like, what am I here for?
At this prep school.
Yeah, I'm here because I want to play lacrosse.
I'm a 5th year senior.
I'm a 5th year. I don't have a car. I can't go out. I can't leave
Where,
campus.
where,
What am I doing?
where were you?
Deerfield Academy in Massachusetts.
So you're in Mass.
Yeah, Deerfield, Mass.
Right. Deerfield. So you're in Deerfield, Mass. All your friends are literally like 6-8 weeks into their college lives.
Yep.
You're in this high school.
I'm in a single dorm room with, the center of the football team. So it was. They added a bed for me to get in there. It was just like, it was a high school. Yeah. Just like, what am I doing?
And when did Cornell call?
November. I went up for homecoming and hit it off with the coaching staff. The coach called me back. He's like, "Do you want to come?" I was like, "Well, I have no other options, so yeah, let's do it." And I played the national championship my freshman year at Cornell.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So literally in October, you're a 5th year senior in wherever fucking Mass, and literally that spring summer you're in the NCAA tournament
right now in front
playing
of
for
40,000 people. Yeah, crazy.
That was an intense 8 months.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what did you see around you in this highly competitive Northeast environment? Like, you just saw a lot of parents fucking up or did you even realize it was happening? You're a kid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Did you see like dads yelling, like just like lack of self-awareness, like dads, like a kid that you knew sucked shit, like in junior high that had no prayer because he didn't have the size or the speed or the skill, but his dad, when you came over, like literally thinks his son's going to be at Hopkins?
I think you see it today more than ever. I mean,
why? From your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you touched on, I think it's just like that notion that parents, they want their kids to like think that they're going to be this, they want to be positive, think that they're going to be this great thing. I mean, I would have like 5 goals in youth league, and I'd come off the field, my dad would be like, "You missed this one on the crease and you missed this guy who was wide open there."
Do you feel like that can go far the other way?
I feel like that's why I'm here today, is because my dad was so critical of me.
Yes.
And I love him for it.
Do you feel like do you think if your dad was sitting here, that if I asked him, "Hey bro, do you think that you, Dad, would have had the self-awareness that your son wasn't dealing with that well, that you would have been able to take the foot off the pedal, or do you think your dad had one move the other way?"
I don't,
because I think most parents have one move one way or the other, and I'm most fascinated by the parent that has the ability to go to the middle when they react to the reality versus their own ambition.
Yeah, I think he would have. I think he saw how I reacted to it. And,
so it was
I was like competitive. It was positive for me.
Sure.
And then eventually when I got to high school.
Because you had friends that had dads or moms doing the same thing.
Exactly.
That crumbled under that.
Yep.
And wanted to punch their parent in the face.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, my mom was a professional tennis player, so lost in the semifinals of Wimbledon, like did the thing.
Your mom
lost to Billie Jean King semifinals of Wimbledon in '68, I think.
I have to look that up as you're talking. That's fucking...
Yeah, Kathleen Harder.
That's insane.
Yeah, so she was
amazing.
She was the real deal.
Clearly, dude.
And so when I was playing ball, I was a basketball player.
100th of the athlete your mom is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, she could beat me in tennis, so I was like 32.
Still, until...
And that was only because mobility. Like that was just like purely it. Her strokes are still better. Yeah. And she would just laugh at me. But I think her experience and knowing that, I mean, losing is a part of life. And she 100%. Understood that. And it's just how you deal with it, what you take from it. But her love never wavered when I won or lost. And I can't say the same for my dad. My dad was never a great athlete. And he was more ego invested in my performance. And I think with him, you know, it was a lot tougher because he didn't really understand what it was like to play at a high level. And his attitude towards me changed. If I had a bad game, if I missed some shots, you know, then it was like, where'd Dad go? Like, Dad doesn't give a shit about me anymore, you know, or he would like jump on me for stuff. And I was like, I'm already better than you. I'm 12. Like you can't, like, what are you doing, Dad? So it was a balance of having both types of parents. But I think ultimately, the job of a parent is to prepare you for life, and losing is a part of life. It's just what you do with that loss. Do you use it to make you better, or do you use it to make you feel like you aren't worthy of love anymore? You know,
yeah,
and that's the thing. I'm
super fascinated by the absolute value of losing. I'm just super into it, and I'm just shocked by the lack of self-awareness of parents to realize it's doing such a huge disservice. I just see so many of my friends and contemporaries, like, it's just so obvious that the fear of losing just cripples them because they never take, like, it's super important to taste that shit early on. Yep. Interesting.
And taste the result of that. You know, I mean, like, if the best thing that you can do as any parent or any mentor, anybody, is take the worst possible thing, the thing that's the curse, the thing that's the loss, and say, yeah, you know, now how do you become grateful for this? You know, like, 100%. How is this going to make you better? And that you teach that, that's the fucking recipe for life. Whatever failure, whatever loss, whatever curse, whatever hardship, you know, use that thing to make you that much stronger. Teach that shit.
Do you feel that you're over-reliant on Instagram? So this is something I want to spend a lot of time on. It's the first time I'm bringing it out. Super important for me. I believe net, listening to, you know, I've got a better sense for you, and I think you're more diversified. You know, as people are clearly trying to figure out their value in the, thank God for influencer market. Look at, you know, listen to your 2 intros, right? Do you believe that if I said right now, you know, it's really fun to critique the parents of the world right now, and we just had a lot of fun razzing not ourselves. Do you believe, very simple, yes, no, do you believe that you're too vulnerable to Instagram?
Yes and no. I mean, that's the thing. I've done basically my same job for 20 years or so, and like he mentioned, you know, we're both in unique sports that, you know, don't necessarily,
they're not mainstream.
They're not mainstream, and I'm also coming off of, you know, a career of competing as well. So yeah, I mean,
so you retired a year ago.
I still do events, but not full time. So.
And did that feel weird? Was that like a detox, or was that gradual? Did you feel like that was happening over the last 3 or 4 years?
I felt like it was gradual, and like I mentioned, I like to win. Sure. So where I felt like I couldn't dedicate my time
at the highest levels.
Yeah, like I don't want to show up to events and not do good or not feel like I gave it my all. So that's kind of where I was at.
You lost the energy for it. Makes sense.
But you know, I still think about it. I still, you know, surfing's in the Olympics for 2020. I mean, that's something that's.
Is it the first time?
First time, yeah.
Are you like, fuck?
I literally tell a story where I cried when I heard it got in. I was like,
I couldn't imagine.
I was like, wow, and this is coming.
The timing's super weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It is weird, but it's,
like, if it was 16 or if it was 24, it would have been better for you.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think what's interesting to me, like, I mean, even 10, 20 years ago when I was competing, like, we barely had a girls tour or anything, and now it's like an Olympic sport, and I'm, you know, very grateful, and I feel like I contributed to a lot of, you know, me and other few top surfers to get surfing out
Meanwhile, like, you can't help but running through your head like, fuck, I could have won an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, or just, you know, you never know. I mean, it's on my mind, but
you'd have to, like, legitimately, like,
quit everything.
Right, like, you'd have to leave. Actually, you should probably, if you're planning on doing it, you probably have to leave right this second.
Yeah, exactly. I'll see you guys in 2 years. Yeah.
Interesting.
Which it runs through my mind though. I'm like, you know. But
on a very serious note, if you, like, literally walked out of this room right now and, like, went to Hawaii and, like, started getting your shit together, you know, it's tough. Like, you're talking about the top. These are, you know, people are so confused by the difference between, like, you fooling around with your friends and what the, like, I actually think that is one of the most fascinating things to me in life, that regular people can't comprehend the delta between themselves and the tippy top of a sport. Like, I always try to, like, when my friends always say dumb shit like, yo, you know, after, like, if we play, like, 5-on-5 pickup ball, and when you get the right 5 together and you, like, really feel it, and then somebody says something stupid because you won, like, 7 games in a row, like, you know, if we played the Warriors, like, we're not gonna score, dick. Like, forget about winning. We're not even gonna score if they really tried. Score in a basketball game. So I think that when I always tell my friends, I'm like, bro, look at all the NCAA athletes. Look at the ones that are, like, the 7th best player in like college, like, at the time, that don't even make it to the next level. The delta is so extreme. Do you think that if you walked out of here right now and started going hardcore, that you could make a real run in 2020?
It would be a struggle.
Yeah,
it would be a struggle, and that's where it's like,
because even if you knew, if you thought you could medal, you'd probably walk out of here right now.
Yeah.
Because it's cool, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, because that's the thing.
That's
Again,
I noticed, I apologize for cutting you off. I noticed Lewis Howes' a quote here. Like, Lewis went to the Olympics on the handball thing. I still think that's the funniest shit.
Yeah.
Like, literally when he did that, there was one flight where I was like, what's something super random that's in the Olympics? Like something dumb as shit that is nobody knows about. Like, I was like looking for the hack to get into the Olympics because I think it's just funny and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Got it. So that's kind of how it runs through your mind.
Yeah, and I mean, and to further answer your question,
Yes.
like speaking back to like
Instagram.
Instagram, and working with brands and stuff. It's
Look, what's your second biggest platform?
I mean, Facebook's actually my number one, but like, I mean, Facebook, Instagram, I do them all, but Twitter, Snapchat, but it's like anything. Like, I think every day, like, is it going to change or where
will it go away?
Yeah,
Is it going to be like
I just saw
or-
MySpace Tom literally yesterday, and I walked by. I know him; he's a nice guy, and I was like, MySpace Tom, like, what's up? But like, like I was,
Do you think he
I was on
appreciated you saying
MySpace.
MySpace Tom, or did you just say Tom?
I say both. I literally, I'm like, yo, you're like MySpace Tom, and I'm like, this is great. But like, I was on MySpace back in the day. I was a really geeky kid. I was on the internet. Like,
You also were building a brand at 5, so
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're over reliant on Instagram?
Yes.
And so, like, what do you even have a number 2?
So at Twitter. Yeah,
But that's like a
it's-
distant 2,
it's probably
right?
like a fourth. Yeah. Of
Yeah.
my following on Instagram. Yeah.
And so, like, how do you think about that? Like, do you think about podcasts? Do you think about YouTube? Do you
I
think
think, like I said, right now I'm more focused on that more than ever.
Yes.
I think I'm at a point in my life where I'm comfortable and want to start getting into different things. So I think
comfortable because you
podcast-
scratched the itch of lacrosse, or comfortable because you're starting to get some deals and like can see it?
That I think
Number 2.
I have some deals and I'm comfortable where I'm at in the sport. I'm not, I'm always striving to be the best, but I'm, confident in my position right now and where I am, and I want to start really taking that next step. So I'm looking at podcast, YouTube channel, seeing what I can do best. What I could, do with most consistency, because I think that's what I admire the most about people who are in this space and who do it great is how consistent they are. And you're putting out podcasts every day, and that takes effort, that takes work. So what's my next go-to platform that I can be consistent in? I want to be a consistent performer like I can be in lacrosse. I want to do that with what I choose next. And right now, Instagram is the one that I can be most consistent with.
Aubrey, how about for you? And how do you think about you as a human versus On It the brand?
That's a funny thing to kind of reconcile at a certain point, because this birthed out of me and was just me. Me and On It were smashed together as one, and now 180 people in there, and it has a life of its own, and it's my job to just kind of shepherd it and steer it in the right ways that uphold certain principles of mine. But it's its own thing, for sure, and it can get kind of trippy to look at this thing that was like a piece of my flesh that now has developed into something that's no longer me.
What's the biggest challenge of something that is a piece of your flesh that is now a company of 180 people for you today? How many years ago did it start?
2011 was really really when it got
so
going.
like, what's the biggest challenge for you
I think the biggest
at this point? Because I think you're in an interesting spot. I have a lot of empathy for it. I'm sure a lot of people listening. A lot of times we talk about, so much of my content is geared towards people that haven't started yet or a year in. We're past those places in our lives. I feel like you're in a place where your personal brand is gaining momentum, right? You've been focused on it. I think, listen, I always try to remind people, like, I built Wine Library for the first decade before I even put now I got lucky, let's call it what it is. There was no putting out content, back then, but there was blogs, and I can't write for shit, so that helped me. But MySpace, I watched very carefully. Friendster, MySpace, I was fascinated. I didn't start content on there. I think it's an interesting transition when you actually run a company and then some of the attention goes to you and you start realizing there's a double benefit. I mean, this book is going to be great for you. It's going to be great for the business.
Yeah.
Do you worry about getting caught on the drug of being the person, and that then makes you take an eye off the business?
It's a balance, because to write this book, I can't be focused on other stuff. So you have to trust the people that you put in place, and you have to allow some flexibility for the company to take on some of their personality. Like my COO, my CTO, like they are shaping on it in a certain way. And again, that's an opportunity.
And talk to me about 2007 on it. If we were to
2011, yeah.
No, 2007. I'm sorry, I apologize. Let's talk about 2000. Let's talk about 2014 on it.
Okay.
On it in 2014, what percentage of your fingerprints is on that business?
I mean, the whole thing.
100, or did you have a code like flat 199? Like
in 2014.
Yeah, in 2014.
Every aspect, every single aspect,
like,
other than the coding.
Give me a net. But you hired that
60,
coder.
Yeah, I mean, well, if
how
you're
many
talking about the people I hire, we're talking like 92% of this company.
And how many
is
of the 50 biggest decisions that had happened that year, how many did you
49.
make? Right. And now in 2018?
I mean, now we're talking closer to 35%.
And of the 50 biggest decisions?
I'm still making a majority of those, maybe 40, 42.
Understood.
Yeah.
And what does that feel like? Do you feel back to doing a recall, your ability to go to that psychedelic place and learn? No, I'm being, it is a little ha-ha. I'm enjoying the recall of it, but I do think it's an interesting insight. Do you believe that your escapism in that form and trying to learn to control the uncontrollable and, however one would define that sector, I want to use the right adjectives and words, do you think that has helped you let go?
1,000%. Yeah, because you learn to have trust, and you learn to, and also read deeply into the subconscious patterns that people have, because you see them in yourself and you can see them in other people. And then, because you got to really trust the people that you're handing over the reins to, especially for the important decisions. Great. And so I feel like I can see them, read them. I can share myself with them better so that they understand me better, so that there's not this discrepancy of, oh, what would Aubrey say or what would Aubrey do? They can kind of keep my spirit alive even when I'm not there and make decisions that would be akin to the decisions that I would make. So that's helped. And also, letting go and trusting that, this will become what it's supposed to become.
Let's end on a speed round. I'm going to ask some questions everybody answers. What's the most interesting thing happening on Instagram right now?
I touched on it earlier. I think the real-time
stories.
Real-time stories and the geotags.
Love it. Could be a single account. Could be a single person. Could be something happening in your community.
Yeah. I don't know. For me,
what's the first thing you do when you go to Instagram in the morning? Do you go to your DMs? Do you go look at how your last post performed? Do you go into Explore? Do you go through your feed? What's the first thing you do?
I just go through my feed.
Got it.
Yeah.
And do you like shit?
Yeah, I like stuff. Yeah. I think that's a good point right there. I think I find fascinating, like, the likes I found. I think people are just scrolling more and liking less, and it's just kind of like become a habit where you just scroll,
consuming instead of engaging,
just actually reading what the post is.
One of the coolest things I've watched happen is one of the trainers in our gym. His name's he goes by Primal Soldier, and I watched him come up from nothing now to like 150,000 followers, and he's just swinging kettlebells. And then he launched his own training program, and with just Instagram alone, in the span of like 18 months, he's got a $100,000 business with recurring and subscriptions and things going on. And just from being relentless and consistent, 2 different kettlebell flows. He's sweaty, he's got his shirt off, he's got short shorts, he's got a black hat, and he does it every single day.
I love it.
Now I go out to eat in Miami, and I'll have like an On It supplement on the table, and they'll be like, oh shit, you work with Primal Soldier? And I'll be like, yeah, I do, actually. I'll tell them I said what's up. And it's just cool to see someone use a platform.
I get it. Fucking D-Rock, like... ridiculous. Okay. Favorite food right now?
I'm really into matcha. Drink, but or acai, but that's like been my go-to. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a beverage. I've really gotten into molecular hydrogen and consuming that consistently throughout the day. It's
interesting.
It's weird, but it's different.
I've been playing around with exogenous ketones, and that's...
Here's my favorite part of this last question. I don't even know what the fuck the last 2 were.
I've
never heard of either.
That's what I'm excited about. It's something. It's the alternate energy source to sugar for the system, and it helps. You can obviously have a full ketogenic diet, which I'm a fan of, but this will kind of help bridge the gap and help you cheat a little bit. And so really playing around with those. On It doesn't have any of those right now, but I'm playing around with them personally. And
it's funny though. I actually have a weird one too, and I don't even know the proper name for it. But there's popcorn that has I don't remember the first word, but it's yeast as the topping instead of butter. I don't know if it's
like nutritional yeast.
You know about this? Yeah. Nutritional yeast, I think is right. You had that?
It tastes kind of like cheese.
Dude, it's fucking amazing.
It's really good.
It like freaks me out how delicious it is. Like I like it way better than butter, and like butter's the best on popcorn for me, like historically. What are you binging or consuming on Netflix or any other OTT or HBO or what have you? Nothing is a fair answer.
Nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's nothing.
Yeah.
I
mean,
know what nothing
I'm
looks
excited.
like.
I'm excited for Westworld to come back.
Fuck
Yes,
yeah.
but right now it's nothing.
Nothing.
The last thing was Peaky Blinders. I went through that.
Oh, yeah, was that
pretty
great?
quick.
People loved it.
I loved it. Yeah, it was great.
I don't even know what it's. Yeah.
Yeah, if I could wait in line and it would make Westworld happen faster, like if I could go iPhone style and like get it before everybody else, I fucking would. I love that show. Love that show.
Last parting shot. This is where you can promote a book or ask a question or anything you'd like to say. Let's wrap it up.
Dude, this is awesome. I'm gonna give you. Here's a question for you,
So
Gary.
good. Yeah, please. Actually, that'd be great. If you
yeah,
want to
I
ask
have
me
a
a question.
yeah, I have a
since
question
I
for you.
gotta bounce right after this and can't hang.
What would be better for your wall of things or things for the office? A surfboard or bikini?
A surfboard. I think I'm ready to put up something pretty legit. I'm actually thinking about resetting the whole thing.
Okay, perfect.
Like,
Mine can be in the center.
I'm thinking about super resetting, and like really going there with shit I care about. So like for example, I'm gonna go on eBay in the next couple days. Like I need to buy like 80 wrestling figures, not just a couple. Like I'm gonna really make it even more personal. Right now, people are like sneaking in and putting shit and like trying to like it's just not enough me, and so I need to reset it. But a surfboard would be great. I do want like some sort of anchor thing.
I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna ask you a question, but the first thing I want to say is right now I started a Instagram account, LiveFit30 with Brian Mazza, and it's our daily workouts under 30 minutes.
Love it.
So we're putting a lot of
Good
time
plug,
into that. For you as someone, well, thank you. This is cool. I actually started taking on supplements a few weeks ago. Followed you for a while.
This is a huge
really
win.
cool.
You really
Huge-
fucking
you really
won today.
So I listened to his podcast with Tim Ferriss and started taking his supplements and following him for a few weeks. So it's awesome. Talking about this, that second social, and what should I use? What do you think?
Yeah.
Where do you think I should go?
I think it's reverse engineering what you're about. Like, so to me, it's like, if you can write, I really, really believe like writing is grossly underestimated right now. Like one thing I know for fact is most people on Instagram right now are grossly mailing in the copy and focusing way too much on the picture. Obviously the picture's massive. And even if it's 80%, which I would be comfortable in saying it is, the visual's 80%, that would leave 20% around the copy and its impact on the success of what are we doing here? We're trying to put out pieces of content that give us distribution and awareness that becomes a gateway drug to another thing that we want to happen, whether that's to sell supplements or sneakers or books, or to like I want to make more people Jet fans and make them more aware of other things. Like whatever it is, I could care less of like what you want that to be. To me, it's if you could be great at the craft of getting people to pay attention. Attention is the currency, and everybody is mailing in copy. So if you could write, I think blogging and copy on your posts is super huge. I think audio's, I couldn't push people more to starting a podcast if they're willing to go there, right? Like everybody thinks I own 0.00% of Anchor, and everybody thinks I own like all of it because I always push it only because I know it's a very easy way for people to start a podcast, right? So to me, written and audio, because video and picture has become easy and second nature to everybody, that means the opportunity is in in written word and audio.
Thank you.
You got it.
Yeah, right now I'm in the final stages of this book launch, and
What are you doing on Tuesday when the book comes out?
I'm going to be signing some books, but doing a lot of Facebook Lives, doing a lot of digital. I got different digital platforms that are hitting me up, and just trying to
email blast from homies, list,
of course, through the On It list, through my list, through everybody possible.
Pot committed.
100% pot committed. Like there's no more. We pushed all in. And it's great, man. I think there's nothing that I've ever seen that's combined the entire spectrum of human optimization into a single place. So you don't need to go hunting for conflicting experts. We got 300 clinical academic references, and it's not about buying a bunch of honest stuff. We're talking about the free doctors like sex and sleep and exercise and light and hydration.
How much do you sleep?
I sleep about 7 hours, and then I take 30-minute naps a lot.
What range?
About 1 to 8
is your sweet spot.
Is about my sweet spot.
What's your sleep?
6 to 8.
And what? Cool. 6 to 8 hours. And what's the
Probably 11.
What's the norm? The net
I wake
net
up at
norm?
7, so it's all depending on when I fall asleep.
11 to
12 to 7.
Got it. And for you?
10, 11 till 6, 7.
Yep. Same. I'm really midnight to 6 or 11 to 6. You know, or 12 to 6. I'm same. The reason I wanted to jump on this before we end it is I'm just super sad that people think hustle means sleep 4 hours. To me, the biggest problem is what you're doing when you're awake.
Mm-hmm. How much energy do you have?
I have unlimited.
That's the rate,
yeah, exactly.
That's the rate limiting factor.
That's exactly right. And it's just the black and white of not a lot of hours. And making that cool is such a strategic mistake.
And a 30-minute nap outperformed more overnight sleep and more coffee in clinical research. So don't be afraid to nap, even if you're fucking killing it.
But on that, you need to know your body, right? Like if I can't nap, I just can't. And when I do, everything's even when I try to force myself this, I think any of these advices about anything comes down to self-awareness and understanding yourself. Trying different things to figure out that thing for you is just the game.
You might want to try a caffeine nap then, where you have a little bit of caffeine and then try a nap so you don't go too deep. Because the problem with napping and being tired is you get into the deep phases of sleep. And if you're in the deep phases of sleep and pull yourself out rather than being in REM or some lighter phase,
there's nothing worse than fucking waking up from sleep. Yeah. You're
it's
dead.
The worst. Yeah, you don't want that. You want to wake up from the light sleep or not even go down that deep in a nap. Just touch the surface of that theta brainwave state.
Guys, thanks for being on.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Gary.
See ya.